Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? Well, the answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. When I started using Anchor to do my podcast, it was so extremely easy that I haven't even bothered to look for another app to use. I love this app. It's the only one I deal with, the only one I even recommend, period. I recommend you get on there ASAP. If you want to start a podcast, this is definitely the place to go. It's easy. You can drive around and record. You can sit in your basement and record. You can do it anywhere. It's fantastic. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start, anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's Adam Rich from the Really Rich Podcast. And listen, I am driving. I assure you though, I am paying attention to the road first. Okay, so I just wanted to warn you that I'm driving in case you hear some kind of vulgar language or something. No, I'm just kidding. In case you hear turn signals and stuff, just ignore it. Don't worry about me. I'm just trying to obey the law here. But I thought it was very important to at least get one out while I can, because I wanted to talk to you guys about setting a 5-year plan. And I know that sounds cheesy, so before you end the podcast and just forget about this, just hear me out on this, because for years I ignored the idea of a 5-year plan. I thought it was silly. I thought it was cheesy. I thought that, what's the point? That sounds like something old people do, grown-ups do. And the bottom line is, I guess I'm closer now to an older person than a younger person. But the reality is, guys, regardless how old you are, it is very, very, very important to plan. And it doesn't mean that just because you plan that it's going to happen, or that you if something happens and it doesn't come to fruition or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that your goals are screwed up. Listen, you could change your plan at any given time. But the reality is, if you have no goal, if you have no plan, what are you really shooting for? You don't even really know. You don't have a time frame. And I find that if you at least set yourself kind of somewhat of a deadline of some kind, it at least keeps you motivated, because you don't have a lot of time to make this stuff happen. And here's the thing. A lot of times people will float through life just not really having a plan, like I did for so many years. And then it gets to a point where you're like, man, I'm so-and-so age. I'm at this point. What am I doing? What do I really want to accomplish? And if you don't at least have an idea or at least like a framework to run off of, you could just float around forever and not really have any clue where you're going. And I think it's extremely important for everybody, because it keeps your head down, it keeps you focused, it keeps you on a path to something. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you're definitely going to get it. It doesn't mean that whatever this plan is set in stone, that you have to go after it forever. Things happen in your life that make you change everything. If you were to ask anyone that knew me when I was 21 compared to how I am now, they're going to tell you I'm two different people. They're going to think I'm a schizophrenic, and because I just had different goals. I had different ideas. Like when I was 21, for instance, I had zero plan about getting married or ever having kids. I didn't want it. I didn't think I would ever want that. Nor did I ever, like the job that I had, I didn't think that, that my whole goal back then was to work at a place, work there for 30, 40 years, whatever it took, and then retire and ride off into the sunset. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think at the age of 21, I'm 37 now, about to be 38, never did I think at 21 that I would be podcasting. Never at 21 did I think I would be selling sports cards for profit or for loss. For that, I didn't think I'd be selling them at all. nor did I think that cryptocurrency was going to be a thing or that I would even care about it. At 21 years old, I didn't even care about computers. Like, I used them, but I didn't care to know anything about them. I didn't care to have that kind of a knowledge about computers or to like the internet. Or, as a matter of fact, Facebook was brand new when I was 21, or at least a year or two old. It was like really, really new, to the point where my parents had no idea what Facebook was. Even after I had been on Facebook for a couple years, they didn't care about Facebook at all, thought it was stupid, as did I when it first came out. And now, almost everyone on the planet uses Facebook, it feels like. It feels like if there's 7 billion people, it feels like 8 billion people are using it. Now, I know that the numbers don't work there. And I know that that's actually not even remotely true, that everyone in the world is using Facebook. But the point remains, so many people have an idea about something, and then 5 years passes, 10 years pass, 15 years pass, and your ideas change about everything. If you're old enough to remember what it was like for the internet when it first came out, email and all that stuff, it was considered a fad. It was nobody wanted, like, people thought it would go away. People were like, who is going to use this? This isn't practical. Now, every single business, if you want to be remotely relevant, you better use the internet. You better have an email access. You better have a website. Like, for me, having a podcast and not having a website is almost criminal. Like, I almost need to stop everything and make myself a website. But to be honest with you, there's so many other ways that people can reach me, whether it's DMs on Twitter, Instagram, any social media, TikTok, anything you can think of. You can even comment on the podcast if you wanted to. So you don't need the email, but I do feel like I do need a website. You know what I mean? And I think it's practical. Long term, I want to have, like, I hate the term merch because it sounds like you're just a greedy huckster, a salesman, or whatever. But, T-shirts, coffee mugs, whatever. I'd like to at least have some of that stuff. I have a lot of, in my opinion, great ideas. I have a lot of big ideas. We don't know if they're good or not, but I have a lot of big ideas for what I want to accomplish. And it doesn't happen overnight. Dude, I've been working at this now for over 2 years, and it's barely, listen, it's moving along in the right direction, and I appreciate every single fan that I have. The problem is I can't put every ounce of time into it that I would like to, because I have a family and a full-time job. Now, if I had more opportunity, more time to put into this, I certainly would, and maybe then it would really start to take off in the direction that I'd like it to go. It really is going in the direction I'd like it to go. It's just going very slowly, and I would like it to go quicker. But the reality is I have other priorities that I have to take care of. And everybody does. But the plan, see, like I said earlier, I'm 37, almost 38. When I was 34, oh my goodness, I just realized I've been doing this for over 3 years now. When I was 34, about to turn 35, I guess it's around 3 years. Anyway, that's not important. The point is, when I was almost 35, I thought to myself, you know what? I want to start this podcast, and I want to get it off the ground. And by the time I'm 40, I would like to be established enough to quit my main job and do this full time. But then life comes along too. My wife had our first kid, our daughter. She's now 2.5. We just now had a son. Well, a month and a half ago, we had a son. Oh my gosh, it's almost been 2 months. Dude, this is the point. The time flies. Like, I don't even know what year it is anymore. So the idea that you shouldn't make a plan, or you should just kind of coast through life and just kind of make things, let things happen. That is a thought that I had for a long time. I was just going to let life happen. That was always kind of my plan. I've always been a believer of God, and I think that He is guiding my life, and I trust in that. And I always kind of just said, hey, whatever He throws at me, whatever my life is, that's what I'll do. And I do still have that to an extent, but at the same time, I also have plans that I realize if you don't go out there and make your own, try on your own, I'm not saying try on your own. If you don't at least go out there and make the effort, you can't just expect every wonderful thing to just fall into your lap. You actually have to try at things you care about. Now, I don't think for a second that I'm doing this on my own, but I'm not trying to get too religious or preachy here, but the point is, you need to at least have an idea about what you like, where you're going, what are your plans going forward. Like, wherever you're at in your life, whether you are a kid who's single and just in school right now, where do you want to be in 5 years from now? Whether you're a person who's married, man or woman, you're married, you have kids, you don't have kids, what does your next 5 years look like to you? What would you like it to look like? Do you want to just coast through life and hope for the best? Is there other options? Like it's mind-blowing to me that I have spent so much time of my life with no focus, no goal. And mainly a lot of that is because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, you know? I didn't really know what my plan was. I just thought, hey, go to work full-time, get a job that pays, you know, decent. Maybe you can retire one day. And that was kind of the goal. But then things change. Then all of a sudden you get new leadership, you get new, new bosses, you get new goals, you get new spouses, you get new jobs, you get new intentions and drives, you get new passions. Like for instance, crypto. A year ago, didn't care about crypto at all. A year ago, I did not care about crypto in the slightest. Then I started learning a little bit more about it. Bitcoin has been around for a little while longer. I started studying more about it. I started seeing people making big changes in their lives because of the success of their financial situation because of cryptocurrency, because of things like Bitcoin. And I thought to myself, I really want to study this. I got into sports cards because when I was younger, I loved sports cards. But once I was around 15, 16, 17 years old, I had other interests, didn't care about sports cards. Plus, it wasn't really a major thing that you could really make good money on. I mean, you could sell them and make some money. Some people were doing that, but I didn't put in the time or effort into it back then. So, fast forward to now, I wanted to start doing other things that could make me money, things that I was interested in, and I find that you can't do that unless you put in the work. And it's just like that for everybody. If you think about this, and I want to leave you with this because I want people to think and do this on their, whatever you like, whatever you're passionate about, think of that kind of stuff and put forth a plan with it. But the main thing is this. If you don't come up with a plan, if you don't come up with an intent or what you want to be going forward, where you want your life to go, you might just find yourself 5 or 10 years from now spinning your wheels, thinking that everything it's over. I don't want to say everything is over, but that your passion, that you've passed, that you've missed it, that it's too late for you, that it's all over. I'm stuck doing this forever. I have people I work with right now that are in their mid-20s. I have people that I work with that are in their mid-40s, and they think it's too late for me. I'm stuck here. And it's just not. Think about how many people in the world that are athletes or celebrities or people that go to school for many, many years to get a degree so they can go off and do a job that they like. You have to put in so much time and effort into doing something that you like for free for a long time before anyone is willing to pay you for it. Athletes work for 15 to 20 years at getting good at their sport, at their craft, before anyone is going to come along and pay them for it. So don't think for a second that you're going to start doing something and within 2 weeks or a month, you're all of a sudden going to have it made. It takes time and effort. Just stay focused, keep your head down and grind it out and good things will happen. I promise. Love you guys. That's all the time I got. I'll see you later. Be blessed. I'm out.